I'll wait. And I will welcome everyone to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. And Jean is going to start our first song.
I think
I don't know what's going on with me. There we go. Jean, is that as weird for me, for everybody else as it is for me?
Is all that you are.
Okay, nice.
You are sacred love. God's sacred love is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live place, such a holy place. Oh, blessed peace, blessed peace is all that you are.
All right.
You are blessed peace, God, blessed peace is all
Jean, is
that
this as
you
glitchy
are.
for you as it is for me?
Show the way,
Everyone else, I
God,
think
show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place.
Good stuff.
Such a holy place.
I'm sorry, guys.
Say
That was really bad for me. It was bad for you guys. Okay, I've got something else that we can do. So let's do something else. I think.
Michelle, I can play the audio portion. I just
You
can't
know
play
what?
the video.
I had something up prepared because I didn't know whether or not we were going to be able to do that. So I'm gonna do that right now. I'm sorry about that. Sometimes technology doesn't cooperate with us, but we have options. So we're gonna take.
There's beauty everywhere it shines. God bless us all. Oh, I believe we are all one spirit on this spinning ball. God bless us all. And peace becomes reality. I remember to forgive. That's when I remember how to live. Let there be a celebration of all the colors of creation. Bless us all. Oh, I believe we are all one spirit on this spinning ball. God bless us all. Bless us all. Oh, I believe we are all one spirit on this spinning ball. God bless us all.
Isn't that beautiful? Oh, I just love those two. And isn't that the truth? We are all seeds in the garden of God's dream. I love that. So beautiful. Oh, good morning, Dana. I just saw you popped on. And our practitioner of the day is Robert Brown, and I want to invite him to do our opening prayer invocation. Good morning, Robert. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. So I'd like to invite you to join me in consciousness. Close your eyes, relax. Keep your feet planted firmly on the floor or the footstool or wherever they are. And know with me that there is only one power, only one presence in this universe and in our lives. We commune with the presence within us, and we use the power to create good in our lives and the lives of those for whom we pray. I give great thanks for this opportunity to come together in community and consciousness. And I give great thanks for all the relationships that I have with each and every one of you and with our spiritual community as a whole. I also want to add a special note for the peace and divine right action for Jim and Leslie's son, Rob, as he struggles through this latest health issue. I know that he is healthy, whole, and complete, and that all of his caregivers are divinely guided. So I give great thanks yet again for this Sunday service, for all the people participating in it, for each and every one of us. We are each individualized expressions of the divine. And we are divine distributors of love and compassion. So I release my words into the law, knowing that they are done as said, and together we say, and so it is. Now I've got a rather, well, I thought it was a rather long quote. It's by Raymond Charles Barker, and it's from a book that he and Ernest Holmes co-authored. And this is the large part of a prayer for relationships. There is nothing in me that can impede the love of the Spirit. I now release all personal opinions about others. I let go of all hurts and prejudices. I let the full action of divine love act through me and be the basis of all human relationships. I am unified with the good in every man or woman, and all else becomes as nothing. I have no interest in other people's faults. I keep my attention on the divine possibility within everyone I know. God's love is at the center of all, and it forever moves in perfect action through all. I am blessed and prospered by divine love. It enriches my soul and it prospers my consciousness. It frees me from mistakes of human judgment and makes me to know that I am one with all good. With love in my heart, I forgive and forget all untruth. The true spiritual man or woman is all that I know of each person with whom I live, work, and play. All else is unimportant, for God's love in me is interested only in the good, the true, and the perfect. I think rightly, and I love greatly. This love flowing out from me is felt and recognized by others. In turn, they love me and judge me according to God's standards. I love to let love express through me. And so it is. This quote reminds me of my daily goal, which is to see God in every person with whom I interact, on whatever level I interact with them. I think there's no higher goal that we can have than to see God in every person and everything in our lives. So join me in a moment of silence, in contemplating the love inside us, in contemplating the fact that that love comes from the divine and that it's within us because the divine is within us and we are within the divine. Contemplate that and think about what it means for you in your daily life. So as you come out of that moment of silence, as you come back into the Zoom room, repeat after me. I am one with God. I am one with each and every person on this Zoom call. I am one with each and every person in the world and in the universe. And so it is. Now, if you'll read with me July's affirmation. I am free with the freedom of God. Today, I manifest this freedom in joy. I see myself free, complete, and perfect. I affirm that God's freedom is my freedom. I enter into this freedom with complete abandonment and a sincere desire to live so that my freedom shall be imparted to others. And so it is. And now I don't know whether we're having a musical interlude or not.
We are going to have a musical interlude, but it's going to be a YouTube interlude. But let me get it up here. This is a man named, well, let me, hang on. This is a man named Eddie Watkins Jr. You may know who he is. He's pretty amazing. Oops. Hang on, I've got a YouTube. I'm going to play his video. It's called I Am the Place Where God Shows Up. I don't know if you've ever seen Eddie in person, but he's amazing. And here, oops, you know what? I forgot to share the sound. I am so grateful that you are all so incredibly patient. Here we go.
Am I strong enough to bear the burdens that sometimes come living this thing called life? Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork in the road?
Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone, and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. Will I have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself? Will I have the health of mind and body to live a life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone, and there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place. I am the place where God. You are the place. Moves and breathes and has we are the place where God shows up. I am the place. I am the place where God. You are the place.
Woohoo! I love him. And isn't that the truth? Oops. Hang on. Close my list. I have to close the YouTube. Anyway, I thought that was appropriate for today's talk, because that's what we're talking about today. We are the place where God shows up. And so, I'm just going to take a deep breath with that. And I am going to welcome everyone. Good morning and welcome to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living's online Sunday service. And as you know, if you've been here for the last couple of weeks, this month we've been talking about relationships, which is what, thank you, Robert, for that beautiful prayer about relationships. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, it was a little long, but it was beautiful, and it was certainly pertinent to the topic for the month. You know, we started with the most intimate relationship and expanded. We began by looking at our relationship with ourselves, to both our divine self and to our human self, which of course connects us with our creator, the God of our experience and our understanding, which is happening right where we are. As Annie Watkins Jr. said, we are the place where God shows up, you know, that presence. And then we pushed out to include others, our family and friends and our communities. We did that last week. And this week, our focus is going to be on our relationship to the society that we live in, to our larger culture, you know, which includes our neighborhood, our city, our state, our country, the world, you know, the greater whole. You know, and last week, I shared a little bit of wisdom from Ernest Holmes, our founder, who wrote in the Living the Science of Mind book. This is, I'm just going to do one line. He said, and we have to listen carefully, I think. We individualize the universal. So we bring the universal down to the individual, and we universalize the individual. And as Holmes said in his essay, when he wrote this, you know, it does seem like an abstract concept, but its meaning is really pretty simple. It says that while we are these marvelous individualized expressions of our creator, because we live within this one life, we also universalize what we hold at our individual level of consciousness. You know, meaning that what we think about, how we feel, how we behave, influences the whole. You know, our contribution to the collective consciousness matters, and our individual lives influence the whole. You know, this incredible variety of life forms that we see all around us are all expressing life within this one life. You know, all of creation is joined. You know, we're one. And at the very deepest level, we all belong to the same infinite and indestructible loving one. We can't be any different. You know, I particularly like Marianne Williamson's metaphor that she uses in her book that she wrote many years ago now, called Return to Love. It's still a classic, or is becoming a classic, I suppose. And she used this metaphor to describe what Holmes described as the universal becoming individual. She said, we're like the spokes on a wheel, all radiating out from the same center. If we define ourselves according to our position on the rim, we seem separate and distinct from one another. But if we define ourselves according to the starting point, our source, the center of the wheel, we're a shared identity. If you dig deep enough into your mind and deep enough into my mind, into mine, the picture is the same. At the bottom of it all, what we are is love. What we are is love. We're the place where God shows up. And because at the center of the wheel, the hub, we are a shared identity, one life, one mind, one consciousness. It means that the point of each individualized consciousness influences the hub, influences the whole. The whole collective consciousness of humanity, of everything that we as a culture, as a society are thinking into. And here is where, as individuals, we're empowered to be these catalysts for change at the point of our individualized expression of this divine presence. You know, I was reminded as I was writing this, I was reminded of that old bumper sticker I used to see all the time. I haven't seen it in a while. It said, think globally, act locally. Let me say that again because I kind of stumbled on it. Think globally, act locally, which really is the same thing as saying think collectively and act individually. You know? And I love that. You know, we are in our oneness, this great collective consciousness, and yet our point of power, our point of contribution is at our individualized level. I love that. It's empowering. You know, I have a great deal of appreciation for the way that Centers for Spiritual Living as an organization kind of continues to evolve and grow into an organization that facilitates change in the world, that consciously uses its presence in the world to create a world that works for everyone, which has become our tagline, a world that works for everyone. CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living, if you don't know, is the umbrella organization that One Heart, One Mind comes under. We are one organization. I think we now are up to 400 or 500 centers around the globe. You know, and don't get me wrong, we are not without our faults, but I really do believe that as an organization, we're on the right path. Not only do we have this founding document written by our founder, Ernest Holmes, called the Declaration of Principles, you know, and it states the principles that we teach and live by, but we also have a newer document called the Global Vision. You know, I was trying to find a date when the Global Vision was written, and it was about 20 years ago. I believe it had something to do with Kathy Hearn. It was right before we had the integration with International Religious Science and United Centers for Spiritual Living. We came together and we created the Global Vision. And when you read the Global Vision, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's kind of long. I did share some of it a couple of weeks ago. But the Global Vision really reads to me like this affirmative prayer for the spiritual principles that we as an organization, a culture, if you will, want to demonstrate in the world. And it isn't just wishful thinking. You know, these are all things that we truly believe are possible in the world. You know, I shared, like I said, I shared the first few lines of the Global Vision vision with you on the first week because it talks about our individual relationship to the divine. And today I'd like to share a few more lines with you. And these lines address what we believe is possible for us as a society, as a collective consciousness, you know, as individuals coming together to create that world that works for everyone. So here are the third and the fourth lines, paragraphs, whatever you want to call them. And they read, we envision a world in which we live and grow as one global family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of all life. A world where the kinship with all life prospers and connects through the guidance of spiritual wisdom and experience. So as a global community, we come together and listen to that intuitive wisdom of our connection with the divine in our collective consciousness. And then it goes on, and the next stanza is a little bit more of the world. We envision a world where personal responsibility joins with social conscience in every area of the political, corporate, academic, and social sectors, providing sustainable structures to further the emerging global consciousness. I just really love that because it talks about how, you know, first of all, they're really kind of big ideas, you know, they really are. It's pretty optimistic, that's not the word I'm looking for, to actually believe that this is possible. They're big ideas. But I believe that to collectively create any meaningful change, this is where we have to begin. We begin in our individual lives, our individual point of expression, and then we influence the collective whole. You know, I'm reminded of the story, and I'm sure you've heard this at some time or another, the story of the 100th monkey. I think it was popular really back in the 80s. It's a story written by Ken Keyes. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to kind of give it to you in a nutshell. It's probably a reminder. Here's the abbreviated version. But the story of the 100th monkey is about a Japanese monkey. It's Maka Fuscata, who apparently had been observed in the wild for many decades. And in 1952, on the island of Koshima, scientists had been giving these monkeys, these macaco monkeys, they had been giving them sweet potatoes to eat as they observed them. But they'd been dropping the sweet potatoes in the sand, and the monkeys loved the taste of the sweet potatoes, but they didn't like the sand. So they noticed that an 18-month-old female that they'd named Emo found that she could solve the problem by putting the sweet potatoes in a nearby stream and washing them off. And she taught this same trick to her mother and her playmates, and pretty soon all the monkeys were doing it. And between 1952 and 1958, all young monkeys learned to wash the sand off their sweet potatoes. And I remember when I was reading the story, the parents, the adults that were related to the young monkeys that were washing their sweet potatoes, they began to wash their sweet potatoes too. But the ones that weren't related, the adults that weren't related, they didn't wash their monkeys. They just kept eating the sand, which I think is telling. Then anyway, by the autumn of 1958, most of the monkeys on Koshima were washing their sweet potatoes. And then the author of the story said, then it happened. Scientists observed that the habit of washing sweet potatoes jumped over the sea. And colonies of monkeys on other islands and on the mainland began washing their sweet potatoes. You know, they had absolutely no physical contact. And the scientists concluded that when a certain critical number of monkeys achieved a particular awareness, the new awareness is communicated from mind to mind. Now, where have we heard that? Now, you know, although they didn't really know the exact number of how many monkeys there were, but they called it the 100th monkey. And the analogy was that in the morning you wake up and 99 monkeys are doing it, and by the evening the 100th monkey begins to do it. And then there's a point at which that number shifts and it becomes the tipping point, so that all behavior in that field of awareness begins to be the same. So there's that point at which one more person or one more monkey tunes in to a new awareness, and the field is strengthened so that this awareness is picked up by almost everyone. And of course, the idea has been supported by others as well. I was reminded of Lynn McTaggart's work that she did with the Power of Eight. And I've read tons of different studies of prayer studies where collective prayer has had amazing results. I read one in the Middle East where the fighting in the Middle East was actually decreased by this prayer group that came together in collective consciousness and did this prayer for peace. And as soon as they stopped doing it, it increased again. And, you know, of course, as metaphysicians, we believe that this one life that we're all living within and connected with is so powerful in that we do share that collective consciousness, that we do influence the whole of the collective consciousness at our individualized point of expressions. As Holmes put it, we universalize the individual and we individualize the universal. You know, and Ernest Holmes was very clear on his views of the evolution of life and human consciousness, you know, and we see this in the story of the 100th monkey. And we can see it in our own country. I mean, really, when you think about it, think about the evolution that we have seen over the last 249 years, or is it 46? I can't remember. I mean, at one time, African Americans were only considered to be 3/5 of a person, and women could not own property or vote. And I admit that sometimes when I see what's going on in the world around me, it feels like one step forward and two steps back, but the momentum is upward, you know, and which makes me think that Holmes would be very supportive of our move as an organization to put into words in the form of a vision or an affirmative prayer, it really sounds like to me, a clear and a concise vision to hold for our world, which is the global vision. And I have another quote from Holmes where he talks about this upward spiral momentum. Even though sometimes it seems like we stall or go backwards, there is this continual momentum and forward movement of life and consciousness. Holmes wrote this in The Science of Mind on page 386. The spiral of life is upward. Evolution carries us forward, not backward. Eternal and progressive expansion is its law, and there are no breaks in its continuity. It seems to me that our evolution is the result of the unfolding consciousness of that which already is, and need but to be realized to become a fact of everyday life. And when I was doing the meditation earlier today, you know, there is that moment when we shift our focus. We need only but realize the fact, put our attention on or align with something to draw it into our personal experience. And as we individualize that experience, we universalize it in the collective mind, the collective consciousness. It's empowering to think that my level of consciousness impacts the whole. You know, on our individual level, we can foster lives, our own lives, that contribute to that upward spiral of universal consciousness. You know, and I have a lot of ideas about how we can do this in very practical ways in our daily lives. I'm only going to share a couple with you today. And the first one that came to mind for me was that quote that is attributed to Jesus. It's in Matthew 20:22. And in this particular part of the Bible, Jesus is talking to the Pharisees, and they start testing him by asking him, which is the greatest commandment in the law? And then Jesus answered and said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might, and all your mind. And this is the first and greatest commandment. And as metaphysicians, we would say that this is a call to be fully aligned with the nature of God that's within us, with the nature of love. But then here's the line that I really wanted to point out. And then Jesus went on to say, and this is really the point, and the second is to love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. He doesn't just say love your neighbor and put yourself aside. He says love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus calls us to see our neighbor all other people in our lives through the eyes of unity rather than separation. To first love ourselves with the love of our Creator that's within us, and then to extend that love to everyone else in our oneness. And I think to recognize that we may be the 100th monkey who is bringing this idea, this tipping point into collective consciousness, that's kind of an exciting idea for me. I may be that point of consciousness that becomes the tipping point, the change in consciousness that creates the change in our culture, in our society, in our world. That's pretty optimistic, but why not me? Why not you? Why not all of us? We're called to live with this attitude of oneness and to kind of hold the door open to change, through our compassion for ourselves and for one another. We are these magnificent instruments of change if we want to be and if we make that happen. Which brings me to the next idea that I wanted to draw forward this morning. And this one, I think, benefits us in living with the attitude of oneness. And it's a statement that Ernest Holmes delivered in his very last sermon in 1960, I believe. Actually, it was 1959. I take that back. He passed away he made his transition in 1960. And this sermon was given, it's called the Sermon by the Sea, and it was given at Asilomar in California. Remember when we used to always go to Asilomar for our yearly conferences? We haven't been there in a while. But in this really beautiful and eloquent sermon, Holmes shares this idea, and I think this is powerful. He says, find me one person who is for something and against nothing, who is redeemed enough not to condemn others out of, and I love this line, out of the burden of their soul. I will find another Savior, another Jesus, and an exalted human being. Find me one person who does not see from the perspective of their own brokenness and their own pain and their own issues. That's what he's saying. One person who can see simply through the alignment to love, the alignment with the oneness of God. And in this line, I'm reminded of Jesus's teaching that everything he did, we are capable of doing and more. And I also think that we have to be really clear about what Holmes is saying here. The idea of being for something and against nothing is not about our personal preferences. It's not about liking dogs and not cats. It's not about liking vanilla ice cream and not chocolate. Holmes is talking about an attitude of living. He's talking about living compassionately towards all life. And he's talking about an attitude of living that is expansive and grateful and a willingness to be open to live in what is possible in God. And we know that there's infinite possibilities in God. He isn't saying that we should stick our head in the sand and ignore what's happening right in front of us. He isn't saying that we deny that we experience disease sometime. He's reminding us that when we do, we align with the nature of the divine and the perfection and the harmony of our lives in human form, and that through the power of law, we open ourselves to the flow and the experience of that health and vitality and that good. He isn't saying that we deny the experience of lack or limitation. He's saying that when we encounter it, that we align ourselves with the nature of God, which is prosperity and abundance and freedom, so that we're open to the full flow of those qualities within God, which of course are also in us because we are one with the divine. I am the place that God shows up. So in turning our attention from being for something and against nothing, Holmes is reminding us that the creative power of law is impersonal and constant, and that we are the vehicles through which law moves, through which it flows, and we can direct it. It's just like electricity, which in and of itself is completely impersonal. It'll go wherever it's directed when we participate with its nature. It can light up our homes, or it can be an instrument for injury. The electric chair is electricity. It goes where it is directed. And when we understand its nature, we can direct it in a positive direction, in a positive emotion. And the same is true for the creative power of law, of love and law. We can use it to contribute to the collective whole of humanity when we put our attention on the positive things that we can do together to create a world that works for everyone. When we universalize our individual expression of God. And that depends on how we live our own lives and how we treat others and how we view the whole. I'm reminded of that story. I'm full of stories today. I know I've shared this a couple of times before, but it just so perfectly illustrates this. It's about the Babemba tribe, in which I looked them up. It's an actual tribe that lives in Zambia and around in that area. But in their society or their culture, when a person acts irresponsibly or unjustly, they don't, put them in jail or whatever. I'm sure it's a smaller culture, so it's possible to do this. But he or she is placed in the middle of the village, and everyone stops working. Every man, woman, child in the village gathers in this large circle around the person who are the accused, let's call them. And then each person in the tribe or in the community speaks to the one in the center, one at a time, about all the good things that the person has done in their lifetime. Every incident, every experience that can be recalled, and they recall them in great detail and accuracy, and they recount them over and over to this one person. All of their positive attributes and their good deeds and their strengths and their kindness are all recited carefully and at great length. The article of the story I read said this, the ceremony sometimes goes on for days. And these people, the Babemba, recognize that the correction for behavior that is out of alignment with the values of their society or their tribe, their culture, is not punishment, but love and a remembering of who they are, that they're the place that God shows up. They believe that a friend or a coach or a teacher or a parent or family is someone who understands who you are, who knows your song and sings it to you when you've forgotten it. And they're not fooled by the mistake that you've made or the dark images that you've created about yourself. They remember your beauty. They remember your beauty when you feel ugly. They remember your wholeness when you feel broken. And your innocence when you feel guilty, and your purpose when you feel confused. And I have to tell you, that is always not easy to do. But when we come together in a collective consciousness, it's much easier to do. Community, I've been dealing with, my youngest son who's an alcoholic, and I'm thinking it is in community that we remind each other who we are. That's why the power of spiritual community in the 12-step tradition is so powerful, because it's that community. We come together to remember who we are. So I leave you with this today. You've heard, I'm sure, the idea that things will change when the old guard dies off. Have you ever heard that? Though things like racism and genocide and homophobia and terrorism, these are all the old guard ideas, and they will die off when the old guard dies off. But you know what? Here's the thing. It's not the old guard that perpetuates the injustices and the horrors. It's the systems and the patterns of thinking and the collective consciousness that hold these ideas in place. And when these systems and these patterns of thinking are left unchanged, then these ideas and these behaviors and these events will continue. I'm reminded of the gun violence in our country. Something's got to give. But here's where the idea of the 100 monkey can really come into play, and how we can universalize the individual through our contribution into the collective consciousness. We can be the tipping point. We can first create change within our point of consciousness in the present moment. It's the only place where we're empowered to do that, to create change. But we can impact the whole. When we hold the space for love, love flourishes. Love flourishes in us, and it greets everybody we meet. Change begins with us. And then it impacts our families and our friends and our workplaces and our communities, our cities and our states and our countries and the global community at large. We change the world by changing ourselves. It sounds so simple. And it is, but it is multidimensional, and it has to be committed to and constant. We have to be dedicated to the idea that when we change, things around us will change. So this way, as you interact in the world, with the world, I'm inviting you to pause periodically and to look at any societal norms that you've agreed to follow and ask if they support a world that works for everyone, a world that works for all. And if you notice things in your surroundings that are not supporting this vision, ask yourself, how can I change? What thoughts and feelings and actions can I cultivate within myself to be for something and against nothing? And how can I contribute to a world that works for everyone at my individualized point of consciousness right here? So let's pray. You ready? Let's take in a nice deep centering breath. I know that all there is God, that there is one life, one presence, one momentum, one love, one beauty, one kindness, one universe expressed as each and every one of us and all life on our planet. So I speak my word for and about each and every person on this call and each and every person that is not, that there's a shift. There's a shift in consciousness that knows our empoweredness. I don't know if that's a word, but it is now. That we, at our level of consciousness, at our point of engagement with the all that is, cause change. That we are a catalyst and a vehicle through which God shows up and changes the world. Because we are willing to stand in the flow of divine love and the divine presence to change. So I'm just so grateful for this. I'm grateful for our individualized ability to contribute to the whole of peace and love and goodness and prosperity and freedom and justice and goodness in the world for everyone. So I just relax in knowing that this is all true. I relax in knowing that as I speak these words, they are making their way into demonstration because they have no choice. I am impacted love. And it says yes. So with that, I just relax. I know all is well. And I invite you to signify your agreement by saying, and so it is. And so it is. Okay. Woo-hoo. So, ooh, that's noisy. I don't know what that is. I am going to invite, let's see, oh, Rob, it's you. Are you there? You are our benedictor today. And I'm going to invite you to lead us in our, let's see, I'm going to have to change the slide, but that's okay. In our time of sacred giving.
Good, I'm on it. And forgive me, I have not rectified my internet situation yet. So if I get fuzzy or go away, it certainly happened before, could happen again, but hopefully not today. This is our opportunity to collectively buy the situation where we have a spiritual family. We are collectively buying the opportunity to have this spiritual experience together. And certainly want to thank everyone for who is able to contribute to this, such that it makes it happen. Because when you put in your, whatever it is you're offering, and you know that other people are doing the same thing, it's kind of fun that we're all doing this together and we're making this happen together. There are multiple ways to give, and we concentrate on two of them. The most significant is Venmo. That's what most people use. It's an app that you can set up in your phone or on your computer, and you can find you'll find Michelle's name at the O Home Center, and just send your money that way. And if you were more comfortable with an old-fashioned check, then drop it in an envelope and send it off to Jim Massapust, and all is very much appreciated. Moving on to the next slide, which fortunately Michelle prompts me on all the things I need to say.
There we go.
There we go. If you would join me in our sacred giving declaration, I recognize that all supply flows from the divine givingness of spirit. My gift is a continuation of this divine flow. I give and receive from this infinite supply. I give in faith, in love, and in joy, and it flows back to me in kind. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you. So, Yvonne, do you want to give us our announcements? I'm so sorry that we had to cancel our Bunko, but we're going to reschedule. And there were a few people that couldn't come, so we'll be happy to have you join us when we reschedule. I was disappointed that we had to do that, but life happens. So go ahead. I'll be quiet.
Okay, Monday prayer group from 6 to 6:30. We come together in silent prayer for our center. It's a wonderful way to begin the week and for us to achieve the consciousness that we need to grow our community. And on Tuesday evening, we'll continue our study of Eric Butterworth's book, Spiritual Economics. We will be discussing chapter 8, Security in a Changing World, which I think is just a great one to have right now, that chapter for this. We meet from 6 to 7:30 or thereabout. And our discussion is facilitated by Reverend Michelle and Practitioner Raylene Clark. A practitioner session at no cost to you is still available by our own Jean Perkle. She's offering this lovely gift on Zoom, and it is completely private. If you would like to take advantage of this, look at our newsletter and you'll find her contact information and give her a call to schedule a practitioner session. That's a really great thing because a lot of people have never been through a full-blown practitioner session, and it's worth every minute of it. And especially if you don't even have to pay anything for it. So we continue our unexpected income practice in order to change our consciousness about abundance. Pay attention to the abundance that drops into your life and show your gratitude by tithing 10% of it to OHOM. Be sure that you identify the tithe as unexpected income. It's really easy to just put it on Venmo or something and let it fly. And then it gets to Jim and he's like, well, I don't know what it is. So be sure you do that. And don't be afraid to offer up that tithe and then watch what happens. It's magical and really fun. And I think Raylene has passed me up now. She had a hefty duty week with unexpected income. So I got to get busy with my consciousness. And that's it for me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And let's go back to Rob and have him give us the benediction. And then I have another YouTube video to close us out.
Okay. And I want to acknowledge Michelle for having a backup in place that saved us and was really good so far. So thank you, Michelle. So I invite you to close your eyes if you like and just take this opportunity with me to feel the goodness, to feel the gratitude welling up inside for what has transpired today, for this opportunity to hear the goodness, to hear the truth of the goodness of the universe, and to feel the warmth of God permeating through each and every fiber of our very being, and beyond that, to feel that goodness, to feel that warmth permeating the experiences of our lives, making them good and better, such that our lives are almost unrecognizable because of the goodness that is flowing through us and from us. And so I just say, thank you, God. Thank you for this one heart, one mind opportunity to know the truth, to feel the joy of God. I am so grateful. I say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. I release my word. And as the one that we are, we say, and so it is.
And so it is. Beautiful. And let's let Karen Drecker take us out today. If I can get to the, hang on a second. It's so big, I can't get down to the play part. There we go.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. And may I be happy. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. And may I be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. And may you be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease, and may you be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease, and may we be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. And may we be happy. I am filled with loving kindness. I am well. I am peaceful and at ease. And I am happy. I am filled with loving kindness. I am well. I am peaceful and at ease. I am happy. I am filled with loving kindness. I am well. I am peaceful and at ease. And I am happy.
There we go. Well, we are filled with loving kindness. Thought that kind of wrapped up the sentiment for the day, the month. So does anybody have anything they want to share? Relay.